then report that back. So they would make her an infiltrator. She would infiltrate, enemies and things, hear all the conversations going on, and then report back to, say, Henry Kissinger or whoever.
Yeah, Henry Kissinger was dominant with her.
They would then debrief her, and she would be able to record exactly. Then, of course, the sexual favors, Bob Hope. How about this one? Bob Hope involved in pornography.
Yeah, the king of porno. Who would have thought?
Most people would think, oh, that's impossible.
Yeah,
not Bob Hope.
And here he was, the big kingpin, along with, who was that, Dean Martin?
How about Frank Sinatra dialing in hits and having people dismembered while he's getting massage?
Well, I guess the theme for tonight's show is not everything is what it seems.
And that's what we're trying to say. What we see is a false reality, and it's gonna fall.
And if Bob Hope wasn't a raging pedophile and wasn't involved in all those films, including snuff films and all that stuff, if that wasn't all true about that network out there in L.A., and by the way, I've seen it all firsthand. I can tell you about Bryce's book. It's true.
There's a lot of people that are breaking out that were involved with the slavery that the Lord has protected and has raised up in these last days to speak forth the truth. And they have revealed that Gerald Ford and Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan and George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr. are all pedophiles. Jimmy Carter was the only one out of all of them that would not commit adultery on his wife. I thought that was interesting.
Well, look, all I can tell you about this is that you're recounting from the book.
Which people have been making these statements?
Well, you'll find them. You got the Bryce Taylor. You've got the other one, Transformation of America. You've got Bryce Taylor's Thanks for the Memories. You've got Savali online. You've got people that have grown up in these Illuminati bloodlines that are speaking for it now.
And all this revolves around California, which is interesting.
Yeah, California, mind control, our central intelligence agencies, all the way to the White House. They're all connected.
You know that I was kind of, just give you a little tidbit, you've heard of the famous psychiatrist, the late Dr. Jolyon West, right? Jolly West?
No, I don't think so. Go ahead and say.
He was the psychiatrist that brought you the famous hits of Sirhan Sirhan. He was John Hinckley's psychiatrist. He was there at the death of Timothy McVeigh.
So he's the psychiatrist of all the Manchurian candidates.
Right. And he ran the UCLA Neuropsychiatric Institute called NPI, and for some strange reason, I was at one time, just very briefly, either dating or was handled or controlled by his daughter. And I even saw his house up in Bel Air. I was there while they were building it.
Yeah, you're a rich boy. You're from the Beverly Hills, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're a rich boy.
I didn't enjoy, I didn't live there after 16 years old. I was incarcerated.
Yeah, because you wouldn't go along with the program.
For like 7 years. I was tortured.
That's like they say, conform or be cast out.
I was tortured.
That's what's coming.
They had to, listen, I was tested, but I was born into the elite society.
That's
so it was a little more than just being rich. I was more than rich.
Yeah, and in fact, your family had ties with all the stuff in Hollywood.
You're talking power.
Yeah.
Not just rich. Rich is everywhere these days.
Yeah.
I had power.
I can't hear you, Zeph.
I didn't have any power. I had been born into that. Had I taken it, had I been able to understand what was going on, which I didn't, pure heart type people, they can't see what's happening. They can't take advantage.
And isn't it true that pure heart people, believers, people who love the Lord, will be chased out of these areas in California? I mean, you don't want to be a Christian and move into Malibu, do you?
When I say pure heart, I don't mean a person that's like, completely honest or without sin. I just mean a person that is basically not going to go that way. They're made for God, even if they may be a mess. In fact, I just, after they beat on me, I look like a real mess. I look like you wouldn't want to be like me. I look like a bad boy. I was a rebel. I would not go along with anything. I would just thumb my nose at them, and then they'd haul me off, And I was absolutely in pure anger toward, I had kind of a righteous indignation toward it all, and they would say, fine, then you can just go sit in a cell somewhere, and you can be injected with drugs, and you can be tortured and mind controlled. You can just sit there until you get the message. And then after that 7 years was over, the first thing they said is, you need to go somewhere, they need to take you away for another 5 years. And I said, no, I'm going to be here in your face. And
it
that was
sounds like you were in communist Russia or China.
This is America.
Well, if they could, just a year or so ago, a couple of years ago, they said, isn't it time to go to the mental hospital now? Isn't it time for you to crack up? Isn't it time for you to self-destruct now?
Well, they don't believe Jesus keeps you. That's why they would say that.
And I'm like, yeah, technically, I shouldn't be able to handle this. Psychologically, I shouldn't be able to handle this.
But
how wonderful.
Every day on the internet exposing it.
See, what they figure, they've already discredited me. So anything I say out here, right, in the Midwest or wherever I am on the air, they're not worried about it. They can just say, hey, look, you know, he was a screwed-up kid, you know?
Yeah, what they'll do is if they can't discredit the message, they go after the messengers.
They can just say, oh, yeah, you know, this guy has been seeing shrink since he was 3. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we're really going to believe anything he says. Of course.
Well, people would believe
the other thing is like, yeah, you can't just name everyone in L.A. and say they're all, yeah, I see. Everyone's a Satanist, right, Zeph? Yeah. Okay, here's your little rubber room, and here's a little Thorazine. Go play with some, you know, go play with a Gumby or something, okay? Just don't be shouting all these falsehoods. That's...
and that would be okay if it was coming from one person, but we've heard this from so many different people.
Well, all I'm saying is, you know, yes, they play rough. Why am I not dead? There's really no reason that I can think of why I'm alive.
Oh, Lord.
Praise the Lord only. But there's no reason for me. I was a lamb. They could do whatever they wanted with me. I'll tell you. Listen, did you crack under torture? I did. Whatever you want to do, they did. They did whatever. I would say anything to them. How many fingers? 4. If they wanted me to say that Jesus was the devil, I would say it to them. I might not mean it, but I'm not noble. I'm not, you know, a hero that could stand up under torture. I just was always wondering why they tortured me. What did I do wrong? That's the thing that was hard for me.
Yeah, you were just...
Why did they betray me? Why did they all do that? I didn't hate anyone, and I wasn't trying to cause them any trouble.
Because your life was a witness against them, that's why, Zeph.
I understand now why. I'm just saying at the time, you know, I didn't understand why I was being hurt. So I would act the fool a lot of the time. You know, I'd act like the crazy person because that's what they wanted.
Zeph, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Somebody listening right now that's involved in Satanism in some way, what would you say to them?
I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for the pain you're going through. Oh, you mean in it, meaning doing it?
Like dabbling in it. Like,
yeah, so many kids are drawn into it. I know that over in the West, the Brotherhood is one of the biggest organizations over there.
Harry, I don't have anything to say to them. I've talked to them, the kids I grew up with. Now they're old, you know, they're mature leaders of our society, and I've spoken to them the last couple of years, and I said, you know, what happened, what's the difference between you and me? And they said, well, the whole world came down on you, and then they said, look, you did the right thing. I couldn't do what you did. And I said, well, how about now? How about now? And then they said, I put God first every day. I follow the Lord, and I go to Bible study every Tuesday night. I go to church. I work with all these charities. But I don't want to be a monk. I want to enjoy my life. So the answer was, at long last, when we finally had a reunion, I finally asked, won't you join me? Won't you join us? The answer was no. I'm saved just as much as you are. But I don't want to walk on the same path you're walking on. I don't want to be labeled a fool or a loser like you. No, I don't. And I don't respect, you know, what happened to you, and I would never let what happened to you happen to anyone in my family. So you bet I'll conform my son and my daughter, and it won't be like you. And that's what was told to me just 2 years ago. So I don't have anything to say to the Satanists or the people dabbling in it.
Yeah, you know, you have excellent books out there. You sell them online, don't you? The Lamb and Glass.